Gin. It's a staple spirit in any bar. It's in dozens of classic cocktails. The standards: gin and tonics, corpse survivors, Negronis, martinis. All gins have a botanical build to their flavor, which is then infused with a neutral grain spirit and then distilled. But what if I told you you could easily make your own, and to your own specifications, likes, and needs for whatever cocktail it is you want to make? Want to make a classic martini? Just add the staples of a London dry gin. Or venture into a pink gin to make a delicious strawberry clover club. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do just that using the sous vide method that we used to use to make our made-to-order gin for our gin and tonics at Betony. You can do this with an immersion circulator, or, as I'm doing here, with an Instant Pot. And then of course, we'll make the drinks to enjoy as well. So grab your neutral grain spirit and let's get started. This is how you make gin. Today, I'm going to be making 3 different styles of gin. A standard London dry gin, which I love for a classic martini. A purple gin inspired by Empress gin that makes just the most Instagrammable cocktails. As well as a very on-trend pink gin that I have been seeing everywhere lately. Each style I will be making will have a totally different flavor profile and application for different styles of cocktails that I will be making with them. Some botanicals, however, are non-negotiable when it comes to gin, like juniper or coriander, as well as angelica root and licorice root, to varying degrees. Since I am not using a still, this gin is not going to be crystal clear. This is more of a compound gin, or what would be considered a bathtub gin, which is made by steeping botanicals into a neutral grain spirit. My neutral grain spirit of choice is going to be vodka for all 3 gins. It is no surprise that each producer keeps their blend of botanicals a secret. So I had to do a bit of research on each style to come up with my own recipe. For the London Dry, I knew the 4 most important botanicals I needed were juniper, coriander, angelica, and licorice root. The amount of each one needed required a bit of trial and error, and also some taste testing. The first thing I taste with London Dry Gin is definitely juniper, so I made sure that that would be the dominant flavor. For the purple gin, I've never actually had Empress, as it's not sold in the States as far as I know, so I just used their website as a guide for building that recipe. I am looking forward to trying it so that I can see how mine measures up. Pink gin was kind of a free-for-all. The old-fashioned way to make pink gin was by adding a dash of Angostura bitters to Navy Strength gin. But today's pink gin is all about adding a bright red fruity character as well as some citrus notes. So for this one, I customize it to my own tastes to enhance the kinds of cocktails that I like to drink. That's what makes this process so fun. You really get to DIY and customize your own ideal gin. For my London Dry Botanical Blend, I will be using cardamom, juniper, black pepper, lavender, licorice root, angelica root, ginger, coriander, and a couple of bay leaves. For my purple gin, I will be using grapefruit, juniper, coriander, butterfly pea flower tea, ginger, cinnamon, rose, and the angelica and licorice root. For my pink gin, I will be using juniper and coriander, grapefruit, pink peppercorn, strawberry, cardamom, rose, lavender, as well as the angelica and licorice root. Whatever you choose to use for your gin, I would highly recommend only using organic ingredients. When infusing anything in alcohol, You want to make sure that you aren't ingesting pesticides or any other harmful chemicals that could be leached into the alcohol. Once I've gathered all of my ingredients, I'm going to add water to my Instant Pot until it's about 2/3 full and select the Sous Vide function. Then I will adjust the temperature to 176 degrees Fahrenheit or 80 degrees Celsius. I also like to keep the lid on so that it comes to temperature faster. While that's heating up, I'm going to build the ingredients into a container. For the London Dry Gin, I will be using 1½ tablespoons of juniper, 1 teaspoon of coriander, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, a 1-inch piece of ginger cut into smaller slices, half a teaspoon of angelica root, half a teaspoon of licorice root, 1 medium-sized bay leaf, as well as 1 small bay leaf, 3 cracked cardamom pods, and 1/4 teaspoon of lavender. Now I'm going to add them to the bag, seal it, and set it aside. I don't want to add the alcohol just yet, as it will start extracting the flavors right away. Since this is a rather potent mix of botanicals, I don't want to oversteep and risk any off flavors that could develop while waiting for the Instant Pot to heat up. Next, I will begin building the mix for my pink gin. For this gin, I will be using 2 medium strawberries sliced, 2 5-inch strips of grapefruit peel, 1 tablespoon of juniper, 1 teaspoon of coriander, 1 teaspoon of pink peppercorns, 3 cracked cardamom pods, 1/3 teaspoon of licorice root, 1/3 teaspoon angelica root, half a teaspoon of lavender, 8 rosebuds. Now I will just add all of those ingredients into the bag, seal it, and set it aside. For the purple gin, I will be using 1 tablespoon of juniper, 1 teaspoon of coriander, 1/3 teaspoon angelica root and 1/3 teaspoon licorice root, 1 cinnamon stick, around 25 butterfly pea flowers, 8 rosebuds, a 1-inch piece of ginger cut into 3 slices, and 2 5-inch strips of grapefruit peel. Once the Instant Pot has hit 176 degrees, I'm going to add the alcohol to each bag. Full disclosure, I was planning on using 6 ounces of vodka per bag, but I realized the bottles I have only fit 5 ounces. So my gin is going to be slightly more extracted. First, I will measure out 5 ounces of vodka and add it to the London Dry botanical bag. You want to make sure all the air is removed from the bag, and also want to ensure that the botanicals are submerged in the vodka. Next up, I will add the same amount of vodka to the pink gin bag before sealing it. And lastly, I will add 5 ounces to the purple gin bag, squeezing out all of the air and sealing it. Now I'm just going to open the lid on my Instant Pot and place all 3 bags inside. Then I will start my stopwatch and give these gins 90 seconds to infuse. At this point, you will want to have an ice bath ready to plunge the gin into. Once the timer reaches 1.5 minutes, I will pull out all of the gins and submerge them into an ice bath. Crushed ice works the best for this in my experience, but I didn't have any on hand, so I just went with regular cubes and cold water, and it worked out alright. Keep in mind that the faster you cool them down will slow the infusion and you won't get as much discoloration or cloudiness. after the gin has adequately cooled, I'm just going to strain them using a fine mesh strainer to catch all of the botanicals. I definitely want to strain the London Dry first, as it has taken on more color. After straining, I like to decant them into their own bottles. The purple gin is next, and it's hard to perceive on camera, but it has a really rich indigo color that is definitely darker than the Empress gin, but still really pretty. It will look amazing when blended with other ingredients for cocktails. Lastly, I'm just going to strain out the pink gin, then decant it into its own bottle. This one turned out to be a lovely blush pink. Now I just need to label them, and they're ready to use. I'm really pleased with how they all turned out. Now that our gins are made, let's make some cocktails. To use the London Dry gin, I'm going to make a classic martini. For my martinis, I like to use a 2-to-1 ratio of gin to vermouth. To my mixing glass, I'm first going to add 1 ounce of dry vermouth. Next, I'll add 2 ounces of the London Dry style gin. I'll give this a good 20-second stir, and now I will pour it into my Nick and Nora glass and garnish with a lemon twist. I like to express the oils over the top and also around the rim of the glass, including the stem. The bright citrusy aroma helps to balance out the intense herbal notes from the gin. This gin made quite a tasty martini. The gin itself is very juniper forward and even a bit earthy from the coriander and bay leaf, while the lavender and cardamom added delicate floral aromas. The licorice rounds out the texture of the drink with just a touch of sweetness. If anything, I think next time I would just use 1 large bay leaf instead of using the medium and the small sized, as well as adding more ginger, which kind of got lost. But all things considered, I really enjoyed this blend. For the purple gin, I'm going to make a simple gin and tonic. First, I'll fill my Collins glass 2/3 full with tonic water. Next, I'm going to add 2 ounces of the purple gin, which in my case is more of an indigo color. Now I'll just top it off with more tonic and squeeze a lime in there, as well as garnishing the glass with another lime wedge. I like a lot of citrus in my gin and tonics. Taste-wise, this gin is completely different than the London Dry. While there is definitely a juniper flavor present, the flavor is predominantly cinnamon. You get a lot of floral notes from the rose, and that herbal, almost minty flavor from the angelica root. It works really well with the gin and tonic. I was hoping for a more drastic color change from adding the lime and also the citric acid from the tonic water, but I might have gone overboard on the butterfly pea flower tea. Anyways, I still think it looks stunning and it tastes great, which is the most important thing. For the pink gin, I had a cocktail in mind that I created specifically for this blend. Since this gin has a lot of fresh red fruit notes, I wanted to make a strawberry riff on a clover club. To make the strawberry syrup, I'm going to dice about a cup of strawberries. This doesn't have to be perfect, but I want them pretty small to get the best yield of syrup. You want as much surface area as possible for the maceration process. Now I will transfer the diced strawberries to a bowl and cover them with a 1/4 cup of sugar. Then fold the sugar until it coats all the strawberry pieces. Once they've all been completely covered, I'll add the last 1/4 cup of sugar and continue to fold it in. Now I'll just cover them, give them a good shake, and let them sit in the fridge for about an hour or so. If you want faster results, just continue to agitate the strawberries until all the sugar has been dissolved, and you will be left with a beautiful red strawberry syrup. Once all the sugar has dissolved, strain out the strawberry solids using a fine mesh strainer to catch any strawberry seeds. Definitely save those strawberries for some strawberry shortcake or muffins. After we have strained our beautiful strawberry syrup, it's time to juice a lemon. This cocktail will need a half an ounce of lemon juice. I'm using a strainer to catch any seeds or pulp from getting into the juice. Aside from the gin, strawberry, and lemon, this cocktail will also use an egg white and some gum syrup, which I will have a video on how to make in the near future. Simple syrup can be used in place of the gum syrup. I like using gum syrup in egg white cocktails because it helps to maintain the foam for much longer. Before making the cocktail, I'm going to make the garnish by slicing a strawberry lengthwise. I'm going to make 2 slim cuts into the strawberry, but not cutting all the way through, then cut off the other half. Then I will fan out the strawberry. Now I will just make a small cut on the side to hold the garnish onto the glass. To build the drink, I'm first going to add a half ounce of the gum syrup to my shaker tin. Next, I will add a half ounce of the strawberry syrup, followed by a half an ounce of lemon juice. Now I will add an ounce and a half of my pink gin. Then 2 small ice cubes. I like to add the egg white to a separate tin when making egg white cocktails. Just in case I break the yolk or get a piece of shell in there, I won't have to throw away the whole drink. Now I will vigorously shake the drink until the 2 cubes of ice have melted. You will know it's ready when you don't hear the ice rattling around in the tins. Once ready, I will open pour the cocktail into my coupe and garnish with the strawberry. Of all 3 cocktails, this one was my favorite. It tastes like strawberry ice cream with just a hint of bitterness and floral notes from the grapefruit peel and lavender. I can taste all the ingredients in this gin, but in a more subtle and balanced way than in the other 2. I wouldn't change a thing on this pink gin recipe. I hope this video shed some light on how to craft your own gin to meet your favorite flavor profiles and improve your favorite cocktails. Remember, you can always experiment and change out these ingredients. This is also a fun and unexpected way to utilize seasonal or local produce to make your own custom cocktails, even if it is just a simple gin and tonic. Thank you all for coming along on this journey with me to find my perfect personalized gin. It was a long journey, but in the end, I think it was well worth it. I would love to hear your favorite styles of gin in the comments below. Also, if you have any ingredients that you'd use to make your own gin, I'd love to hear those too. Thank you for stopping by, and I will see you all again soon with another cocktail video.